Okay, so let's begin. Welcome to the free astrotheology course. Our textbook is The Devil's Pulpit. The author is Robert Taylor. Okay, y'all can get the link. There's a link to the free PDF in the description area of this video. There are also links to Ancient Ibaryath books that I've written. So thank you for the support. Those of you all who are buying my book, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Also, those of you who have been subscribing to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath class, thank you. And it's one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself. To give yourself the experience so you can see how language is used against you in the Bible, okay? Me saying it is one thing, but you seeing it is a completely other thing, okay? But of course, it's not just that. It's Ancient Ibaryath, it's etymology, it's grammar, but you're going to see how words can be used and are used to cast spells, okay, to actually deceive you, and how these Bible translators, these scribes, they just write whatever they want to support their doctrine, okay? So thanks everyone. Also, I got some emails regarding the 506 The Curses course, the live class that I teach every Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m., 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. The link to that class is in the description area of this video. That class is 506 The Curses course. The online class, the streaming class, is 101 Ancient Ibaryath. So in 506 The Curses course, I teach Deuteronomy chapter 28 from a literary point of view, not doctrine, no religion. So in that class, I deal with the etymology, the grammar rules, word morphology. We deal with astrology as it is in those documents, the civics as it is in those documents, the natural law, and there's a lot of other, the Hermetic laws. All of these things I deal with in that class, okay? And depending on the topic, it depends on which of those elements I'll focus on. Okay, so everybody's welcome. 506 The Curses course, the link is in the description area of this video, as well as the links to all of the other books and classes that I just mentioned. So this is the diegesis. You see, it's quite a big book. This is the diegesis, also by the Reverend Robert Taylor. It is the source material, or one of the sources. This is one of the sources that he used to write The Devil's Pulpit, okay? This is one of the sources. So I was able to dig this book up. So make sure you get your copy of the diegesis, and we'll go through this from time to time. So just have it, okay? Actually, everyone should have this, okay? All right, so let's get started. You know, I've been thinking rather for the last couple days whether or not I should begin with the first chapter of the book, or if I should begin. So this is the first chapter. Okay, y'all see it? The Star of Bethlehem. I think there's a part 1 and a part 2, I think, of this chapter. I don't recall right now. But I've been trying to decide whether or not I should begin with this or with the chapter on Freemasonry, part 1. So this is a chapter on Freemasonry, part 1. I suggest y'all read through Freemasonry. There are four parts or 4 chapters. I may do it. I may do two presentations a day. One at the beginning, or you know what? I may begin Freemasonry on Dr. Yasapa TV. So I may do those first 4 on Dr. Yasapa TV. And at some point, Zion Law School will no longer be, I haven't decided when, but it will no longer be the primary YouTube channel that I'm doing the astrotheology from. Okay? So be prepared. When I get everything set up, I'll let y'all know. But for right now, the 4 chapters on Freemasonry, I'm going to do on Dr. Yasapa Live. So if y'all want to get that information from me, then tune in, subscribe to Dr. Yasapa Live, okay? It's either Dr. Yasapa Live or Dr. Yasapa All. Dr. Yasapa hyphen and then AL and then live, okay? Or just Google, or just search me on YouTube, Dr. Yasapa, and you'll see the other YouTube channel, okay, y'all? So let's get into it. The Star of Bethlehem. All right, this is a sermon that was given in November, actually November 7th, 1830. 1830 to 1930, that's 100 years. 1930 to 2030, that's 200 years. Okay? 30 minus 23 is 7. So this sermon was given like 193 years ago, y'all. 193 years ago. This book was published. In other words, all of these sermons were collected and published in book form in, I think, sometime around 1957. I'm sorry, 1857. 1857. And we still, this is most of our people, this is going to be the first time they ever heard of this information. Now, why is that? Now, of course, if you've been following my work for the last 2.5 years, I think I started, I don't remember, maybe two years ago I started doing the astrotheology, and it cost me. It cost me to do this, but I'm still doing it. I'm talking about cost me as in I took a loss. But it's a shame how your religious leaders who claim that they are not teaching you religion but giving you an education about your nationality. It's a shame that they have never let y'all in on this secret. And there's a reason why they never let you in on it. Because when you learn this information, and it's not religion, and it's not religious doctrine, it's historical, it is linguistical, if that's a word, dealing with etymology and grammar rules. is dealing with secular history, mythology, architecture and art, philology. So this is a scientific approach that you can use to study any ancient document to come to a closer or more realistic or more practical understanding of what the document means. Okay, and here, so look at it this way. See, a doctrine can change. It's easy to change a doctrine, right? But when the material is written, well, then the language tells hidden secrets that you cannot change unless you change the words, unless you change the grammar rules. See, when you start making changes like that, you can spot, you can see those changes if you understand the original language. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it's very difficult to hide when you understand the mechanics of the language. Or in other words, you understand etymology, you understand linguistics, etc., etc. You understand philology and how to use them together, okay, to determine the original meaning without respect to a doctrine. So anyway, y'all, let's get into it. Yeah, all of a sudden got loud in here. But anyway, let's make it do what it do, y'all. Let some people know that I'm live, okay? This information really doesn't help us as a people or even you personally if you don't share it. All right? So each of us needs other people to know the same information. Otherwise, if you only know it, you're very weak still, right? Because you get power, more power in numbers, especially when you have to deal with hybrids in their system. So you need other people to be of the same frame of mind. Okay, so share the video, because the person who you share it to may be that person who will help you. Because there are some situations where you need help. All right? So share the video, like the video. Let's get started. The Star of Bethlehem. This sermon was given at the Rotunda on Blackfriars Road. Y'all can Google search Rotunda, Blackfriars Road, and you can actually see what the building looks like, what it looked like then, and what it was used for and everything else, okay? It was given November 7th in 1830. So let's get into it. Matthew chapter 2, verse 7. Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. King of the Jews. You cannot be king of a religion. That's the first. Pay attention. Judaism, that's a religion. Religions don't have kings. Or do they? Or do they? Let's say the religion sets up an army. And the religion presents itself falsely as though it is a nation. Y'all see what's happening here? Can you see it? Jew is a religion. Now, have the religions, of course, are corporate structures, right? Okay? These are corporate structures coming out of Catholicism. All religions. For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. So let's get into this. Who are the inquirers? The wise men of the east. Very well. Show them in here. And we will show these wise men of the east this mighty king of the Jews, the newborn omnipotence, the little baby, capital G-O-D, the little baby Dios, the little baby Zeus, the little baby Thor, Odin, Woden, the little baby Egyptian dog star, the little baby Sirius. And y'all can keep going and going with this capital G-O-D. All right? So I'm going to read through these poems. I don't like this poetry stuff, but I'm going to read through it. All right. So this quotation, it could be poetry or a quotation from a book. Hark, listen. The herald angels sing. Y'all know what angels are, right? Angels are angles of light. So this is astrology. The star in the east, astrology. Angles of light, angels. Sing. What would this song be? Vibrations, frequencies. Different types of angels are vibrating at different frequencies. These are the Hermetic laws. Okay? Glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild. Capital G-O-D, let's just say Zeus, and sinners reconciled. Okay, so these so-called sinners, these lawbreakers, Mosaic lawbreakers or natural lawbreakers, become reconciled with Zeus. Who's Zeus? Zeus is the sun, right? Zeus is a solar deity. So here we see astrology and men being reconciled. Y'all see the point? Joyful all ye nations, rise, join the triumph of the skies. Celestial, y'all, we're talking astrology. With the angelic host, what angelic host? Well, you have the angles or angles of light, and then you have the four living creatures in Ezekiel and Revelation, or what? The cherubim and the seraphim posted at each of the beginnings of the season. So the beginning of spring, cherubim, seraphim. Summer, cherubim, seraphim. On through. Okay? Now y'all don't get offended. Don't get offended. Just sit here and learn. Okay? Once you get the information, then think about it, analyze it, do your research. Empress Rower writes, Shalawama, I don't like the poetry either. Yeah, I don't either, but for the sake of, let's look at this as being on the public record. This video, this is on the public record, right? All of this is public. So we put the whole entire document in the record. That's what we have to do. All right? We put the entire document on the record. And let me tell you why I think that's important. Because if I cover all the information, no one can say that I left something out or that I'm misleading someone. It's all on the record. So that's why it's tedious, but education can be tedious. And it's something that we as scholars have to accept and get used to. So I'm talking to everybody. I'm not talking to Roro. I'm not talking to Empress Roro. I'm talking to whoever hears my voice. Okay? That's part of being a scholar. Being able to deal with boring information and information that we don't like, but still have the discipline to analyze it. Okay? And these wise men. So y'all, what is a wise man? What is a wise man? A wise man is a wizard. A wizard. Now, the etymological meaning of a wizard, the denotative meaning, changed during the Middle Ages. It became derogatory. And these wise men and these wizards and these magi were come from the east to worship him. Now, why would magi, why would wizards be the first to recognize, or the only ones to recognize the meaning of the star in the east and then follow it? Have y'all ever thought about that? Why would they be given the divine revelation? These magi, these wizards. And then they, wizards, are the first to go and worship JC the Christ figure, the King of the Jews. Make sense of it. Ask and answer the questions. Well, let me ask you, Christians, is it against your doctrine to associate yourselves with wizards? Why did Joseph and Mary allow these wizards from the east to come worship their son if it's unlawful? Ask yourself the question. Why did Joseph and Mary accept the gifts of wizards? Were they also sinners? Were they worshiping the devil? Now, y'all might get mad, but it is what it is, right? So why not think about it and make sense of it? Maybe the answer to the question will strengthen your faith, or maybe it will reveal some holes in this holy story. And these wise men were come from the east to worship him. I only beg leave to think I see them at it. Imagine that, y'all. Wizards worshiping JC, the Christ figure, when he was born. Imagine. And giving him gifts, and his parents accepting the gifts from wizards. Imagine. I only ask to be permitted to imagine that such a scene really occurred. Can y'all imagine your JC, who y'all say is God? Some of y'all say he's the son of God, son of Zeus, or he is Zeus. And to imagine what your impressions as well as mine would have been had we been spectators of it. So I'm asking y'all, in y'all mind, picture baby Jesus being worshipped by 3 wizards, and Mary and Joseph, his parents, accepting gifts from 3 wizards. Imagine it. Can you imagine that? You're probably having all kind of conflicts inside of you right now. Am I right? Are you having conflicts? Is it hard for you to do it? Y'all calling me a blasphemer yet? Are you? Are you calling me a blasphemer? Because I'm asking questions. I didn't make anything up. I just asked obvious questions that many of you have not asked because you've never thought about it, because you just accept the story. You haven't thought critically about what you're reading. But let's continue. If such a scene really occurred on Earth, like every other real occurrence, it must admit of being imagined to have occurred. And even they who require us to surrender our reason should at least leave us the exercise of our imagination. So if you don't think it's reasonable for wizards to come worship the Christ, baby Jesus, and that Mary and Joseph, his mother, would accept gifts from these wizards, from devil worshipers, as y'all are taught. If you can't deal with that intellectually, and you can't even imagine it, let me ask you the question. Why is that? Why is that? Why is your brain, why is your mind getting the wires crossed, as it were? Okay? So that we may have some part of our minds left and not be out of our minds, out and out. See, if this is difficult for y'all, there's a psychological reason for it. It's because you're under a spell. Okay? You're under a spell. And what are you experiencing right now? Cognitive dissonance. For 'tis rather riding on us of our Christian divines to require us to believe that as true, which they themselves do not only know to be true, but dare not trust themselves or anybody else. You don't even trust yourself so much as to imagine to be true. The mind's excursive faculty is found to be as great a rebel against faith as its reason. What he's saying in short is that this can cause you to undergo cognitive dissonance. The questions are valid, right? The valid questions. But it goes against your deeply held beliefs, which causes some discomfort. Now, I'm showing that most of the people who started on the live stream are already gone. I don't know if if the number of people, well, I know the number of people goes like this, but right now, it shows one person on the live stream. I don't know how many people are watching the live stream, but since I've been talking, either everybody's gone or YouTube wants to discourage me from continuing by showing only one person on the live stream. But I don't really care whether there's one person or zero watching the live stream. I don't care. I'm going to put the information out anyway. So what about you? Are you undergoing cognitive dissonance? Is this uncomfortable for me to ask or for you to hear that JC was visited by wizards, that he was worshipped by wizards, and his parents allowed it to happen, and his parents accepted gifts from the wizards. And these wizards were given divine knowledge. First, they were given divine knowledge to follow the star in the east, and they were the first ones to worship JC, and they were welcome. Okay, now, does that go with your Christian doctrine? Most of y'all having cognitive dissonance right now, right? Probably calling me a blasphemer. Or y'all might be thinking about doing a video to rebut. You gotta defend your deity. So let's continue. To be a Christian indeed, you must lay aside the use of your mind altogether. I'm gonna repeat that. To be a Christian indeed, you must lay aside the use of your mind altogether. Y'all know that Christians, if y'all go look this up, look up Christian, and it'll say something like, poor fellow. Poor fellow. Somebody who's in a bad condition. Well, when you're going on faith, and that's what Christianity tells you to do, right? Go on faith. But to be honest, to be fair, there's a scripture in the Proverbs, I don't remember what it is, that tells you don't lean upon your own understanding. Do not lean on your own understanding. That is one of the most damaging scriptures in the whole Bible. I'm talking about damaging to you and disgraceful. Why? The question is why? Hold on, y'all. Let me let these people go by. Let me explain why. Here's why it's one of the most damaging and disgraceful verses in the whole Bible. Because it is positioning you to give up your will, to give up your mind, to think and make your own decisions, and to become reliant on someone else, which is against nature. It's against natural law. What's the first commandment? Don't have another power before me. Who wrote these verses that we call the Bible? Well, I strongly suggest you go to Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, and you're going to read there that your ancient ancestors wrote lies in the book of the law, and that they turned it into a book of religion. Did y'all hear me? Y'all go look up Jeremiah 8, verse 8 in the Amplified Bible. But yet, it's either in the Psalms or the Proverbs, I don't remember. The writer or the editor, in my opinion, that's the Psalms, that is a Jeremiah 8, verse 8 occurrence. He's telling you, don't lean upon your own understanding. Now, what is the only thing that you have complete control over in your entire life, in your entire existence? You have complete control over. No one can challenge it. No one can challenge it. What is that one thing? I'm going to give y'all 1 minute to think about it. Put it in the chat. If y'all know the answer, it should be obvious, but you may never have been asked this question before, so you may not know. But take a guess, put it in the chat. The one thing that you were given at birth, it is grace, that you have complete and unchallengeable control over, is the ability to think your own thoughts. Let me repeat it. The ability to think your own thoughts. You have complete and unchallengeable control over that. Why? Why is that the only thing you have complete and unchallengeable control over? What is man? Man is thought made manifest. Manifest thought. So we're getting right back into the Hermetic laws, or natural law. Do y'all see it? Man is thought. You have complete and unchallengeable control over your thought. Man is thought made manifest. Man is a contracted form of manifest. Do you understand? What is thought? Let's go back into the Hermetic laws. Thought, all is mind. Mind is thought. Do y'all see it? All is mind. The law of mentalism is the first Hermetic law. And the other 6 Hermetic laws have their origin in the first. Let me repeat that. The Hermetic law of mentalism, all is mind. Y'all got that? Thought is mind. Right? Clear. The other 6 Hermetic laws have their origin in mentalism. In other words, the 6 Hermetic laws are but different expressions of the one Hermetic law, which is mentalism. So there are 7 Hermetic laws. 7 is what? Cosmic harmony. 7 is cosmic harmony, right? There are 7 laws. So what? Thought or mind is all law. All law. Or some people may say Allah. All law. Y'all got it? So man is all law. Man is all law. Man is all law, or man is Allah, made manifest from the ground, from the land. Y'all see? But here in the proverb, I believe it's in the proverb, they're telling you don't lean upon your own understanding. In other words, give that to your religious leader. Y'all see how toxic this is? They're making a slave out of you and getting you to participate in your own bondage. Let me repeat that. They are making a bondman or a bondwoman out of you and getting you to volunteer for it willingly by miseducating you, teaching you that it is somehow making you holy and closer to Zeus, Dios and Dias, Odin and Woden, Jupiter. Why? Because of your ignorance. And if it hurts, that's a good thing. Because of your ignorance, because of your lack of knowledge about etymology. All right? This is why when you go, if y'all listen to Dr. G on the House of Reawakening Minds, you often hear them talking about connotative linguistics. Well, this is an example of it. How they get you to speak and to think in a way where you confess that you're a bondman or a bondwoman. Right? So what else is there? It's toxic also because of masculine mental energy. Masculine mental energy. You give that away to your religious leader, to your church, to your camp, to your Hebrew Israelite leader, your Christian leader. You give it away, your masculine mental energy. And then you accept their masculine mental energy, and it collaborates with your feminine mental energy. Y'all remember? Yeah. And now you're lost. You're a nigger, a black, African American, and all of these other brands. You're a stateless person. Y'all hear me? You're uninheritable. You're nothing. So anyway, that's why, in my opinion, that's probably the absolute most toxic Jeremiah 8:8 occurrence in the whole of the Bible. But that's my opinion. Using nature against you. All right? And getting you to do it yourself. Because of what? Because you read it. because you read it. And who wrote it? You better look at Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8, and you better think very carefully about how you use your mind and whether or not you should continue to disrespect your ancient foremothers and forefathers by not following their instructions. What are their instructions? Well, their instructions, if you look at it from the religious point of view, would be what? To follow the Mosaic commands, to follow the Mosaic law. But the Mosaic law is natural law. All right? So when you're not following the Most High's commandments, you are living against or out of harmony with natural law. And the law of cause and effect is the most obvious of the Hermetic laws that are going to discipline you and correct you, give you pain and suffering, give you civil death, or even physical death. All right? That will lead you into being escheated, hypothecated, attainder, and hit with bills of attainder and bills of pains and sufferings all your days. And because you corrupted the blood of the contract, it's going to hit your heirs and your kinfolk too. So what am I talking about? The curses, Deuteronomy 15:28. Why? Because you listen to that advice. Do not lean upon your own understanding. Accept what the religious leader says and roll with it. And if you don't understand why you're getting a beat down, well, just wait on God. All right, maybe you're doing something wrong. All of this foolishness. Okay, y'all, let's continue. Let's continue. To be a Christian indeed, you must lay aside the use of your mind altogether. For the facts must lay aside. Let me repeat that. For the facts of the gospel are of such a mysterious nature that they will not merely not bear to be reasoned on, but they will not bear to be thought on. In other words, he's talking about the miracles that we never see or we've never experienced in our lives. He's talking about the duplicity, the hidden bad morals. He's talking about all of these things. And to take it a little bit further, when you look at the church fathers, the so-called church fathers, in the beginning, many of them wrote that JC never lived and that Christianity is just a remix of pagan stories. Pagan stories. What did they do? They changed the name of the characters. They changed the setting. They changed a few of the details happening in the story. Right? And that's what they did. They took existing stories about gods, devils, and demons, and they changed the details, changed the names, and repackaged it. And like Dr. Clark said, sold it back to you. Sold it back to you and you bought it. But of course, it's not that simple, right? Okay, let's continue. You may believe that it is true. You may make believe that it is true, right? Why would you make believe that it's true? Because your friends and your family, that's your whole social network is at church. Or you're undergoing cognitive dissonance and you need to hold on to something because you don't want to, quote unquote, lose your foundation. Because without your foundation, what do you have? I know people who have told me that, okay? So they make believe that it's true. You may say that it is true. You may swear that it is true. But the moment you begin to think that it is true, you will find yourself within half an inch of thinking that it is false. What is he talking about? The moment you begin to apply critical thinking to the gospel stories, right? So you think that it's true. Okay, well, let me start asking serious questions, analytical questions. The answer to those questions will reveal that the story is ridiculous. So therefore it cannot be true. Or it will reveal that what you've been taught about Christ is not what's actually written in the verse. Y'all understand me? Is it clear? So y'all like and share the video, okay, so I don't have to say it. I would appreciate that. So let me try to stay focused with my flow because I'm tired. Yeah, I really need to stay focused because y'all know this is not all I do. I do this in between everything else that I have going on. And so sometimes I do feel physically and mentally tired. Most of the time. Okay? So if y'all do that for me, that's one less thing I need to think about, and I can focus on the material and do the best that I can do in the moment. All right? So let's continue. So that there is really no other way of believing the gospel. There is no other way of believing the gospel, okay, follow, than that in which the Archbishop of Dublin believes the 39 articles, that is, taking them in a lump, and so believing without thinking, and I was guilty of that. So don't think I'm laughing at y'all, putting y'all down. I got 30 plus years clocked in on being a fool. Believing and not thinking. Okay? But what do I mean? Yeah, I was able to teach, overcome objections, convince people from other religions to join my religion, the whole 9 yards. But I was thinking about the doctrine. All right, not about Christianity itself. That's something completely different. I accepted all of that, like most of y'all have. And it's funny because many of y'all have left Christianity to the church, but y'all still quoting scriptures and you still believe. You still believe. Now, it's okay to talk scripture as long as you're doing it in the context of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, the way they understood the scriptures, which is natural law. So this is taking us back to the Sabian Moors, Saba. Okay, y'all? Taking us back to the Sabian Moors, Saba. So instead of worshiping on the Saba or on the Sabbath, we would do what? We would be living the life, the lifestyle, the principles which is following our ancient foremothers and forefathers' instructions, keeping the law, Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Not harming anyone. This is keeping the Sabbath. That's the cultural heritage of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Is it clear? So we would be free from corrupting the blood of the covenant. Why? We would be keeping the law, following the law. Y'all see it? The sanctity, the seriousness, the charm are gone. The moment you begin to let the daylight on the gospel theater. Awesome writes, that's right. Islam and Shalom. Y'all got that? What are the key words here? Let me do that again. The sanctity. Y'all remember how Dr. Clark used to say we get all dewy-eyed when we think about Christianity? We get all dewy-eyed. The sanctity, the seriousness. Okay, here's an example of the seriousness. You're afraid to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, to stomp on the blood of Christ anew or afresh. Let's say y'all went out there and in religion, y'all committed fornication. Let's say you did it not once, but twice, 3 times, 5 times, or even 1 time, depending on your conscience. And now you're worried. Now you're worried that you will burn in hell forever, or you'll die and not have a chance to be resurrected, or that capital G-O-D or JC, whatever y'all doctrine is, will never forgive you, so you're doomed. How many people have wound up in the crazy house over their religious beliefs, y'all? Be honest. Plenty have lost their mind. Plenty go through life worried to death. Plenty of people give up on life. Why? Because they think they blaspheme the deity, their God, and they're doomed. So how many people of y'all do y'all know who might have taken up alcohol and drugs as a hobby or a way to deal with their sorrow, their pain? The sanctity and seriousness, the charm. What's the charm? The charm would be the music, right? You go to your church or whatever your religious organization is, in your best clothes, you're singing the music, you're jumping around, huh? All of that, the charm, the appeal of it. So all of these things are gone. When? The moment you begin to let the daylight, the what? The enlightenment, the light apply reason on the gospel theater. What's the theater? The theater is what? The venue where you go watch plays. Ain't none of it real. It's all made up. But guess what, y'all? Theater is a big part of Admiralty, Maritime, Catholic, Canon, Christian, policy, corporate policy, theater. If you understand that, let me let this go by. Let me let this finish. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me let this machine stop. So the concept of theater, plays. In the play, in the days of the Romans and the Greeks, they wore a mask They wore a mask. And the person, the man or woman, or hybrid, whoever was behind the mask, they took on the characteristics and history of the person wearing the mask. And when they interact with everyone in the play, they're the mask. They're not the person. Well, this is the same thing that's happening in the statutory or the corporate policy system. Okay? You're wearing a mask. And that mask makes you a corporation. But there's more to it than that, okay? So it's not just the Gospels. But it's also corporate policy. Is that surprising? No, it's not surprising. Because the New Testament Christianity is maritime admiralty, Catholic canon, corporate policy. That's what it is. Of course, it's the mind sciences in there also, and the metaphors have a civic application as well. All right, it has a civic application as well. But that should not surprise you. Why? Because there's a constant battle between good and evil, a constant battle between nature, the rightful heirs, and what? Corporations. Nature, the rightful heirs, good, enlightenment, higher self, and then religions, corporations, and darkness. Right? The cycle of nature. Everybody understand? Grace, the covenant of grace. Everything is given to you. You enjoy it. You didn't do anything for anything. It's just given to you. Free gift at birth. And then the covenant of labor, which is spring, the spring equinox. You got to work for everything. You got to struggle for everything. Right? And even what you get and what you produce will be taken from you. Right? Because the corporations own it. How did they own it? If you are a Moor, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, a Moor, they got it by stealing your birthright. Everything we've talked about up until this point. Okay, y'all? So let's continue. So let me just say this. So when you begin to apply reason, when you begin to think the mental bondage that Christianity and all other religions have on you, the cuffs or the bonds will break and you become free. You become free, okay? The bonds that religion has on your mind and your perception of yourself and everything around you will become real. Okay? You'll see reality. Right now, you do not see reality. As much as you think you do, you do not. Okay? You got scales on your mental eyes. So that there is really no other way of believing the gospel than that in which the Archbishop of Dublin believes the 39 articles, that is, taking them in the lump and so believing without thinking. The sanctity, the holiness, the seriousness, the charm are gone the moment you begin to let the daylight on the gospel theater by imagining that its personage had a real existence. See, JC never lived. He was never a real man that walked the earth. Okay? And its incidents in historical occurrence. So remember in the last class, our textbook was The Gospel and the Zodiac. on page 21 through page 23. The author outlined, beginning with the first zodiac sign, Aries, all the way to the end to Pisces. The first maybe 14 or 17 chapters of Mark. He was able to show the incidents that identify each chapter and verse according to their zodiac signs. All right? So y'all will remember, I hope you remember, that the original Gospels were written in Coptic Egyptian. Now, if I remember correctly, that's the southern part of Egypt. So that would be in the Sudan area, I guess in the south. All right? But for those of you who are more astute, those of you who are let me just say it directly. The Americas is the real ancient Egypt. But where was it written? Who knows? Why was it written? We understand why. We know that. It was not written to be a religious book. It was written, the Gospels, the original Gospels was a law book. It showed the annual journey of the sun through each of the zodiac signs. And it was done metaphorically to preserve that knowledge, because the Catholic Church was going around killing off all of the astronomers, all of the astrologers. And I'm not talking religion and devils and demons. This is the study, the observation and study of the celestial bodies. Okay, their motions and how they affect Earth and all living things on the earth, animate and inanimate. The Catholic Church was killing them off, so they wanted to preserve it. And then we'll get into the rest of that story later on in this book, okay? So let's continue. Who are these wise men come from the east to say their prayers to a little squalling God Almighty, sucking his thumb as fast as he could suck? So in other words, who are these wise men that came to see baby Jesus? Who are they? Why doesn't the gospel story tell us more? See, this is what critical thinking, these kind of questions come to your mind. And you need to answer. Why didn't they tell us more? Okay? So let's continue. Quote, unquote. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary. So the wizards, y'all, the wizards went into the house with Joseph and Mary. Now, were they in a house? Where were they, y'all, when baby Jesus was born? Were they in a manger, a barn, or a house? This is on page 2. This is a quote. We're here. So now, do y'all see that there's a big difference between a house and a manger? Who lives in a house? People, right? Who lives in a manger? Animals. That's a completely different story. Completely different setting. Y'all see it? But obviously the scribe wrote a house. They can write whatever they want to write. You're not going to know any better. Why? Because you trust them. Why? Well, because the Bible said don't lean upon your own understanding. So if it's written on the page, that's what it is. everything in the Bible is true. Ignoring Jeremiah 8, verse 8. See, you've been had, bamboozled, played. And when they were coming to the house or a manger or a barn, they saw the young child with Mary, his mama. But it does not say what Mary, his mama, was doing to the young child. But it says that the wise men fell down. But then again, it does not say what it was that knocked them down. In other words, the author is showing you what questions you should ask as you read the story. Right? Critical thinking. He's demonstrating for you. Only it immediately informs us that they brought out some frankincense, which could be of no other use than to sweeten the apartment, the stable. Y'all got that? Did y'all ever think about that? The frankincense, see, most of y'all think that the frankincense was a form of worship. Well, maybe the frankincense was needed because the place stunk, like horse poop or cow poop, or whatever kind of animals were in that manger. So they fired up some incense to try to overcome that funky smell. Y'all know that there are diseases, zoonotical diseases that you can catch from being around animals. Okay, one, you give birth around a bunch of animals. You know you can get deadly sick from that. And then the baby can get deadly sick from that. Are y'all aware of that? Poop everywhere. Let's say the wind blows or dust, and then there's poop in the dust that gets on the baby or gets in the baby's eyes, gets in the baby's mouth, gets in the mother's wounds. Do y'all know how dangerous that is and how irresponsible it is? Let me ask y'all a question, you women, you men with the womb, you sons with the womb. Imagine you're about to give birth and your consort tells you, I'm going to go put you in a barn, in a manger with animals, and you're going to give birth in that manger. Are y'all going to agree to that? Huh? Or are you going to say, no, I'd rather have the baby outside, in the grass? Use your common sense. Women, use your common sense. Are you going to have that baby in the barn, or are you going to agree to go in that barn and have the baby? Or if you're in the barn when your water breaks, are you going to try to get out of that barn because you instinctively know that you don't want to have a baby inside that barn because it might kill you or your baby? How are you going to feel about that man if he puts you in that barn to have a baby, rather than preparing a hotel, a house, or if you couldn't find these things, a place outside that was clean and suitable? At least not as dangerous as giving birth in a barn. Can y'all imagine how filthy that is? How bad it smells in a barn? It's dark. Can y'all imagine how much bacteria and fungus and poop and urine from animals are in a manger? Women, are you going to say that man cares about you if he has you give birth in that barn or that manger? Does he really care about you, your life? Or are you going to think Or might you get the idea, this dude might be trying to kill me. This dude might be trying to kill me and the baby. Or maybe this guy hates me. Maybe he hates me. Be honest. Be honest. I mean, I would like to know what y'all thinking. Put it in the chat so I can read it. If that man told you to go in that manger, that barn, and have that baby, does he love you? Does he want the best for you? Or he don't give a damn about you and he might be trying to kill you and the baby. Even if he had no money. Let's say he has no money. Would you still want to go in that barn, or would you want to have the baby outside? In the safest place, cleanest place possible. Put it in the chat. Think, y'all. Think. And then if you are 3 magicians or wizards from the East, y'all already know in the East they're clean. They like cleanliness. Are they really going to go in the barn, y'all, with animals and fall down on the floor and kneel with poop and urine and dust and dirt everywhere? Think. Would you do it? Let's say you got on silk clothes, right? You're looking good, probably got all your dap on, your bling. You gonna go in a funky barn? Tell the truth, y'all. If you do, you're gonna have to change clothes and take a bath, right? When you leave out. Okay, so they brought some frankincense, which could be for no other use than sweetening the smell of the apartment, the stable. I should say, for we are never to forget that our blessed Savior was born in a stable, as the angels told the shepherds. The heavenly babe you will find there. Let me repeat that, quote unquote. The heavenly babe you there shall find, to human view displayed, all meanly wrapped in dirty rags. Now this is the King of the Jews, wrapped in dirty rags, born in a stable, y'all. Is that the birth of a king? And in a manger laid. And in a manger laid. Where's the dignity of a king being born in the middle of animal poop, feces, and urine, in dirty rags? Now this is supposed to be the King of the Jews. Matthew 2, verse 2. Where is he that is born King of the Jews? Well, he is in a manger full of animal doo-doo and urine and dust. And dust. Now, y'all, how do y'all think they got light? Do you think that they would have to light a lamp? So now it's a big fire hazard, right? Because what's going to be in the manger? Hay, right? So now you got a fire hazard. You see how irresponsible this is? So you have the king, you're going to light a fire so you can have light, but it's flammable material everywhere. So you could start a fire and burn the whole thing down, kill everybody. Okay, y'all? So let's continue. Indeed, one would be utterly at a loss to guess in what the wisdom of the wise men consisted, unless it had been that they had anticipated that the heavenly babe might have such a heavenly smell about him as would have rendered a little frankincense or Aramaic vinegar very refreshing. So he's being what's the word? Not facetious, but it'll come to me. So he's saying the wise men are only wise in that they knew it stunk, and they needed to bring some air freshener. Okay? But do y'all see that we're dealing with astrology here? Wise men from the east. They saw a star in the east. They're talking about celestial phenomena, not people. Okay, this is a remix of the movement or motions of the celestial bodies. Okay, remixed into this gospel story. But we'll get into that as we go through the book, okay? Let's continue. And they worshiped him. The wise men worshiped him. Think about that. You're going to worship a baby in a stinky poop and urine-filled manger, and his clothes are all dirty. Would y'all do that? Would y'all do that? Worship a baby? Especially under those conditions? What sort of worship wise men would be likely to pay to a newborn child might be easier guessed than told, only it was not very wise of them to open their treasures and present unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, with the heparuch of lollipop, he's joking here, and some bullseye and sugar plum, so he's joking, would have suited his royal highness, that's JC the Christ figure, so much better. So in other words, he's saying that he should have gave the baby some candy, because babies like candy. Babies don't want gold and frankincense and myrrh. They want candy, sweets. All right? And if he gave the babies the sweets, maybe the baby would have given them everlasting life in return. Y'all got it? The baby Jesus is more likely to give them everlasting life if they gave baby Jesus sweets, because all babies like sweets. And he's less likely to give them everlasting life if they gave the baby gold, frankincense, and myrrh, because what's a baby going to do with that, right? That's his point. Okay? But somehow or another, the wise men have always contrived it that salvation should never be cheap, and however little of the profit may go to God. Okay? Y'all got it? They couldn't have been so wise. If they were really wise, they would have gave the baby candy or sweets to get their salvation, because that's what babies want. But no, they brought the money. Why? Well, according to the author, because God wants the money. Let me read it again. But somehow or another, the wise men have always contrived it that salvation should never be cheap, and however little of profit may go to God. Conditioning you, y'all. In the story, conditioning you to give up your gold, to give up your money in worship, all right? Okay, so to give the money to God, because his ministers take pretty good care of the money. If you want to go worshiping, you must open your treasures. That's the story. That's the subliminal story. Don't go around messing with them Jews without no money. That's Richard Pryor's joke, right? I done told you, boy. Don't go around effing with them Jews without no money. That's the subliminal story. Okay? If you're going to go worship, you better have some money. Quote, unquote. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return unto Herod, they departed to their own country another way. However, these wise men found their way to Bethlehem. It is admitted that they dreamed their way back again, but sure, they could never have dreamed that the King of the Jews, who ought to have been born in a palace, that's right, y'all, the King of the Jews should have been born in a palace, right? In fact, how did the kings live? How did Solomon live? How did the kings of the Jews live, y'all? Have you all ever heard of a Jewish king? I'm talking about in the Bible stories. Living in a barn. But we know who lived in barns, don't we? Y'all tell me, who lived in barns? Who lived in barns and in caves with animals? Y'all tell me. Who lived in caves? Who are the cavemans? The Paleolithics. What kings lived in barns and queens and boasted about taking a bath only once a year and said that it was holy? It was next to God. We know it was the hybrids, right? The hybrid Europeans. Their kings lived in barns with animals. They lived amongst the animals and in caves, right? The cavemen, they don't hide it. So is it any wonder that JC is said to be born in a barn, in a manger, in a stable? No, because that's what their kings at that time did. The Moorish nobility lived in castles and palaces. And we never lived in caves. You can go back as back can get. Moors never lived in caves. And we never lived in barns with animals. In fact, when the Moors went up into Spain, what did they bring with them? Alcohol. Alcohol. A disinfectant. Also antibiotics. So this should give you an identity or an idea about the identity of this Christ figure. Huh? Hybrids lived in barns amongst animals. Let me let that go. I don't have anything. That's all I got to say about that. Okay? What sort of worship wise men would be likely to pay to a newborn child? That's correct. A newborn child hasn't done anything, doesn't know anything, right? Is not aware of anything. Why would you worship a newborn child? How can you call yourself wise, worshiping a child? Okay, so what sort of worship wise men would be likely to pay to a newborn child might be easier guessed at than told, right? Who knows? Only it was not very wise of them to open their treasures and present unto the newborn child gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I think I read that already. Hey y'all, I'm gonna stop right here. We're an hour and 30 minutes into it. So Islam to all the Moors. I'll be back in about 12 or 24 hours. Check my other YouTube channel, Zion Lost. My other YouTube channel, Dr. Yasapa All Live, or just search Dr. Yasapa, Y-A-S-A-P-A, on YouTube. And I'm gonna do the presentation on Freemasonry Freemasonry, page 238. I'm going to try to get it done within the next 12 hours, okay, y'all? So if y'all haven't subscribed to that channel, go and subscribe. I'm going to be going live more and more from Dr. Yasapa All Live, all right? Anyway, support my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English, okay? So let's break the bonds of the mental slavery. Y'all know it's my position that unless and until we break the bonds of religion off of our minds, we will never, ever, ever get free. In other words, what I'm saying to y'all is that the mechanism of our downfall and our remaining in the curses, Deuteronomy 28:15 through 68, is religion. All right, so let me tell you, get out of religion as fast as you can.